right, thanks, Tammy. I think we're all set up and sharing the right slides now. So again, I'm Jared Shulhanek, Associate Director of Marketing and Web Services. If you've got any questions whatsoever, I know Ashley and I are going to kind of tag team this section on chapter communications. But if you've got questions, throw them in the chat. We'll get to them even if we don't get to them right now. But Tammy said too, if we don't get them or a question comes later, check out LinkedIn. We've got some threads going out there that staff are monitoring. We're happy to jump in and talk with you. So first things first, before we dive into the exciting chapter communications, I've got a great surprise for you. So Ashley, if we could go into the next slide. You guys are the very first group outside of staff that are getting to witness or see a sneak peek of our National Public Works Week poster for 2021. So just a little background. I know I got to tease this out and make you even more anxious, but our theme this year is Stronger Together. There are tons of layers in that. We've all gone through a lot in the last year, but ultimately our responsibilities, your responsibilities as public works professionals are to make better, safer, happier communities for those that you live in. And if we're all working together, we are that much stronger for our communities. So that was kind of the rallying cry for our poster this year. We got a big get this year for an artist, Kirsten Ulv. She is an abstract artist that works quite a bit with, you kind of saw a sneak preview there. It's some bold colors. She's had some huge major clients this past year or over her career. Some of those you'll for sure notice, Volvo, New Yorker, Target, Glamour Magazine, all those. So without further ado, or for a second time here, Ashley, if we could go to the next slide, you guys will see the poster here. So as you can see, we got some abstract, tons of bright colors, but throughout here, we wanted to make sure that we were showcasing team environments, groups of people working together on a public works front to really do things that are beneficial for their communities. So this actually hasn't even hit the press yet, so I can't even say hot off the press. It is at the printer today and tomorrow. Within the next few weeks, we'll have those available in the APWA store. Keep an eye on your inboxes. We'll make sure we let you know when they're available. But we're really proud of the work the artists did and our staff did to pull this together this year, and I think it's pretty meaningful given the theme, what we've all been going through here recently with COVID. So that's all I've got. That's your sneak preview. That's your little treat. I didn't make you wait till the very end. I gave it to you up front. So hopefully now you guys will listen to us when we talk to you a little bit about chapter communications. So first thing, I got two distinct pieces that I'm going to walk you through here. The first is how APWA communicates with you all, the chapter leaders, and then in a little bit we'll go back and we'll talk a little bit more about how chapter leaders, you communicate with your chapter members. So we've got some highlights, some tips and tricks and best practices, but our marketing specialist will also be here on day 4 next week to give you a ton more, kind of a little bit more in-depth, lots of lists of resources, things that you can really take away to go really start communicating more effectively with your members. So with that said, let's dive right into it here. So the ways the APWA communicates with you, the chapter leader, in the works. So you've all probably very familiar with the e-newsletter that comes every week. I've got another slide I want to show you, make sure that you're keying in on some of those chapter leader specific items that are coming your way. But we also do email blasts, surveys. We might send you technical or operational type of messaging, things like website outages, or if there's an issue with technology that we might need to make sure you're aware of how it could affect your chapter websites. And then also, we've got CEO or board of directors messages. The president might be reaching out to you as a group, as chapter leaders, to communicate something or kind of set the tone. I know earlier this week we sent one out from Scott and Mary Joyce Ivers. Had lots of great information in there. But those are just a sample of some of the types of communications that we have. And you'll have to excuse my dog if he starts barking. It's perfect timing all around here. So we can go ahead and move on to the next slide here. As I mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about in the works. So we've got two different versions, and many of your chapter leaders might not know this. So it's a great example to be able to show. But on the left, what you'll see here is a plain regular version that goes out to all of our members and non-members. It is in the works. You'll see at the very top, right below that flashy email banner, we start diving right into some headlines and featured articles and things like that for the week. On the right-hand side, you'll see what is our Chapter Leaders Edition. That Chapter Leaders Edition, all of you chapter leaders actually get a special version. What you see on the left-hand side all actually slides down, and we've got a brand new section, or not a brand new section, but a special section just for you that is chapter leaders announcements for that week. There is regular turnover there that, you know, whether it's announcements or calls to action if we need you to register for something, or if we need your attention or feedback on something. All of those different types of communications that are specifically directed to you as chapter leaders, those will show up at the top of your email. Nobody else gets them, so you guys can feel special about that. You'll see I've got an example here. Once a month, Brad does this in video form, so you can watch Brad grace you with his presence and kind of run through those announcements, but they're also in writing form as well. If you click on that, it'll take you out to a page with all the details and information that you might need on any of those headlines. So keep that in mind. Every Tuesday, pay attention to your inboxes. There's stuff in there that is just for you. So let's move on to the next slide here. And now we're really going to dive into how do you as chapter leaders communicate with your chapter members. And we're going to go to the next slide to see that we've got kind of a big three that we'll run through here. And I feel like I'm borrowing Tammy's words now. We've got big three. That wasn't even planned, everybody. We're just on the same wavelength. That's good. First thing first is chapter website. We'll go through email and then a little bit on social media. Again, our marketing specialists will be here on day 4 of chapter lead training, and they'll go into a little bit more depth on these, but we'll just kind of cover these at a surface level, make sure you're aware of some best practices and things that you can do as chapter leaders. So the very next slide here, this is a perfect example of what not to do. This is a bad website. we work very hard to get you guys templates, any kind of visual assets you might need to make your websites look good. Hopefully there's never a chance that your website would ever look like this, but the next slide that we're going to move over to here is actually going to walk you through some of those best practices that you can pay attention to when you're looking at your website. Most people don't think of your website as a communication tool. It is. If somebody wants to know more about you, want to know more about APWA, chances are they're going out and they're going to Google. And when they Google that, what are they going to find? And they land on your website. Are the headlines thoughtful? Are they giving the reader information that they want and that they need when they're scrolling your website? Excuse me. Are you using good photos? You know, there are a multitude. We'll go through some resources for you in the email section, but there's so many really good websites out there that provide free stock photos. We encourage you to use those. Everybody has awesome smartphones and cell phones this time around. So take that phone with you. You know, when you're obviously not during COVID, but when you're having live events as a chapter, take pictures. Those are great for your website, and a lot of people don't think to use those. Make sure you're paying attention to your copy and that you're running those through a second set of eyes. You know, you don't want misspellings or things that are simple that can distract from your reader's attention of what your point you're trying to get across. And to go along with the next 2 items, really, make sure your website's updated. Make sure it's relevant. Make sure your calendar is up to date. People have the resources that they need that's timely and relevant. And lastly, make sure that there's an easy way for people to get in touch with you. That can be the most frustrating thing for people. They want to engage with you as chapter leaders, but then they don't know how to, or the information isn't right out in front of them to be able to easily access and locate a way to chat with you. So make sure that you're kind of looking through these, making sure you're keeping in mind when you're looking at website content.
And I'll jump in real quick here too. We will talk a lot more about chapter websites on day 4. There's a section on day 4 where we'll really get into a piece of the chapter websites and what's coming out for those who want to know what's coming out with a new template. And so we're not going to talk about that today, but we will talk about it on day 4 a little bit more.
Yes, perfect example of me going high level, but day 4 we're going to have some juicy details for you. So right here, we've got a whole list of email best practices. I know the chapters, you guys as chapter leaders are responsible for getting email communications out to your folks, your members. And here's some things that you can kind of keep in mind when you're going about building those. Make sure you're using images, video, anywhere you can. Stats show that anytime you're able to use an image in an email, your engagement goes up by 25%. If you're able to get a video in there, it goes up by 50%. Obviously, not everything fits with images or videos. Sometimes you need to get down to brass tacks and get just a short message out there that's text only. But when it's appropriate, try and work those in. It'll help your engagement significantly. Talk a little bit about the website. Write a quality headline. In marketing, there's an old saying that you should spend 10% of your time on the body of your email and 90% on the subject line. That is, take that with a grain of salt, but it's important. That's the first thing people see when they see your message in your inbox. And if it doesn't convey what you want it to, if it's not interesting, if it's not relevant, chances are they're never going to be able to open your email. They're never going to want to open your email, and then they're not going to see all the great stuff you have to say in the body of that email. So keep that in mind. Another thing to contemplate is timing, when to send it. Best practices are anywhere between Tuesday and Thursday, although we've seen some good results, and the industry as a whole has seen good results sending on Sundays as well. It's kind of counterintuitive, but these days everybody has a phone and tablet. They might want to kind of check in and do a little pre-work or at least read emails, prior to joining the work week on Monday. So you can experiment with that. Keep an eye on your deliverables and some of the metrics and reporting on the back end. See if it's successful with your group or not. We'll talk a little bit later on this, but keep up with your lists. Make sure that you're updated on unsubscribes and who's subscribed to receive communications from a chapter level. Be personal. We're not robots. People love to be talked to in a personal way. Make sure that they know there's a person on the end of that email, and that goes along with knowing your audience too, knowing what you're talking about and who you're talking to, and then adapting your copy in that way. Be clear and concise with your calls to action. That's a marketing term, CTA. Ignore it, but call to action. There's something that we want people to do anytime we send an email, right? It might be register. It might be go read something. It might be sign up for something or give us your feedback. Whatever that is, make sure that it is clear, it is concise, and that it is very prominent. Put it in your headline. Put it as far up in the top of the email as you can. Make sure it's also at the bottom of your email so it's the last thing people read. We'll skip over that next one. Sorry, we already kind of talked about it, but the third to last there, make sure you edit it. Make sure another set of eyes has looked at it again. You don't want any spelling or errors to go out there that weren't intended. And then that second to last, test it. If you don't have a built-in testing tool in your email tool that your chapter uses, create some dummy emails. Create some email addresses, personal email addresses, work email addresses. Send an email to Yahoo. Send it to Gmail. Send it to an Outlook inbox. Make sure that everything looks how you intend it to look, because all of those email service providers will render emails just a little bit differently. So make sure it's consistent and your emails are showing up how you want them to show up. And last but not least, keep an eye on your results. You'll learn a lot from those results, when to send, what worked for your audience, what doesn't. And those results, those metrics, those reports at the end can really do a lot for you as a chapter. So let's go on to the next slide here. So APWA does have email resources for you. Like I said, we've got chapter lists out on the Chapter Leader Resources website. Got the URL there for you. We do have an APWA email sender tool for chapters. That's fairly basic, a little bit more limited, probably more best used for text type messages, things that don't have a lot of HTML in them. But then we've also got a great graphic design team. Whether you need help with logos or ads for newsletters, things like that, images, or you just need some advice, need to run something by us and want to make sure it's kind of in line with APWA standards or branding, we're happy to help you. Our graphic designers are awesome and they're always willing to give you feedback. So let's go on to the next item here. And this is the good stuff, but I'm just going to be really brief. Again, day 4, we're going to go through a comprehensive list of tons of great resources for you. Where you can go out, take that list, take it back to your chapter, and really enhance a lot of what you're doing. But here you'll see some logos, some different things. So we're going to talk about platforms that you can use to send emails, places you can go to gain inspiration, look at what other people are doing, see examples of the types of message that you're wanting to send that other people have sent. It's a great way to get inspired and steal some ideas. There are ways that you can create your own infographics, create your own custom images. We've got tons of stock photo resources that you can go out there and get free high resolution images in public works. It's great stuff. And then you see HubSpot there. That is kind of like Google for marketing. If you ever want to just spend a little time and read through, get lots of best practices, articles, case studies, everything, that's a great resource for you be able to visit. So again, Abigail Grossman will be your host on day 4, and she's going to do a deep dive on this stuff. It'll be great for you. All right, next slide here is a little bit about chapter social media. We've obviously, it is 2021. Just about everybody is familiar and knowledgeable about social media. If your chapter isn't involved, I encourage you to do so. And you don't have to make a big splash. I encourage you to pick one that maybe you're most comfortable with, or you know that most people are on. Take a Facebook page, take a LinkedIn page, build it, start a presence. It's really easy. All you got to do is have an email address. And then once you go out there, there's lots of really great ways that chapter leaders can use social media to engage with your members on a chapter level. You know, if you're having events or you're having discussions, use a hashtag for each of those. Take videos of your events or show highlights from past events. People love seeing images and videos and starting comments with people they know, especially within a work environment. So we'll go through quite a bit on social media on day 4 as well. But I really encourage each of the chapter leaders, to work with your chapter. Make sure you've got a presence out there. And APWA National, we've got accounts everywhere on all the social media platforms. We are happy to help spread the word about your pages, your presence. We'll help repost and retweet and everything else. When it comes to your own messages, we'll make sure it gets out to a national audience as well. So that's always very helpful.
Hey, Jared, we had a question on here I think would be really good to cover on the video here. Does National suggest one form of social media over the other by chance? Is there one that we would suggest or prefer over any others?
I would say go with a really professional one like TikTok. So I'm kidding. Make sure everybody knows I'm kidding. Things like LinkedIn probably have the least amount of barriers. If we've run into situations where people say, hey, I can't access Facebook or Twitter or Instagram from my work computer, it's locked off. LinkedIn is a little bit more professional in terms of scope of content. That's a great starting place, but Facebook is great too. Just about everybody has a Facebook account. It's a great way to connect with people. Those would probably be the 2 I would recommend. And then if you're wanting to go further than that, I would say probably Twitter and YouTube would be your next steps, with maybe Instagram being kind of that third tier. But really, it's up to you. Talk with your chapters, see what works, what people want to work in, what people are comfortable managing as far as accounts go. All that kind of plays factor in, but I think Facebook and LinkedIn would probably be great starting points for you.
Thanks, Jared. The other thing I've noticed too in the conversation of the chatter is a lot of folks are starting to assign a role for a social media manager or a social media chair at the chapter level. That's fantastic to see that happen. And honestly, if that's something you guys are starting to see, your chapter is starting to need more and more of, putting a chair or somebody assigned to that role is a great idea. And if you ever need help, feel free to reach out to Jared or Abigail or anybody on the marketing team at APWA National. We would be more than happy to step in and help you or kind of coach you as you get started with that new social media chair. All right, so we're going to move into chapter leaders communication. This is another form of communication that is available out there to you, but it's more internally for you all as chapter leaders and how to speak to one another. I did notice in the chatter that there was a lot of comments in there about folks who are not receiving the chapter leader in the Works email tool. For those who are not able to get that, please send an email to chaptersupport@apwa.net, and we will review all of those over the next couple of days and ensure that we get you set up as well. I'll post that in the chat too, so you have that email address. But again, it's chaptersupport@apwa.net. So if you're not receiving the chapter leader email, put those there and we'll follow up with you. So some chapter leader to chapter leader communications. There are a bunch of different forms of communication out to you as chapter leaders for you to communicate back and forth. One of them that we started just in 2020 as part of being in a virtual platform is the chapter leader idea exchanges. Another one would be your regional meetings. And then a brand new thing that we're bringing back to life is the chapter leader online community. So I'll talk a little bit about these 3 areas, but obviously there's way more out there for you. The chapter leader idea exchanges are held quarterly. Like I said, we started this last year. Last year we had 4 different sessions. We had the pivoting to virtual meetings, PWX at home and chapter education, membership town hall, and the advocacy, the time is now. And really these chapter leader idea exchanges are really formulated where we'll have a subject matter expert, such as either a staff member or other chapters who have done fantastic things in these areas, will be online, but it's really a time for you all as chapter leaders to communicate and discuss and share your ideas back and forth. And we more as staff are facilitating that for you. I know for the advocacy town, the time is now, our team from the DC office got on and shared a lot of really great ideas and resources that are available to you. But then the conversation opened up to more of what you can do at a local level and was more of a Q&A for you. The membership town hall, we did present a couple different things about our membership overall as far as what we have going on and where we are in the future. But then we opened the floor up to the chapter leaders to share ideas, to talk about any frustrations or difficulties that you're having, and maybe ways that we could solve any solutions that you need in the future. So be looking for 2021 topics to come out. These will be held virtually. We do record these sessions as well, and we provide those online afterwards. So if you cannot attend the day of the event, that's all right. We can get you on the recorded session to provide that to you later on. The other area is regional meetings. Regional meetings really are a great tool for you to just get to talk back and forth between your chapter leaders. The one thing I would say is get to know who your regional director is. If you don't know who they currently are, please look at the board of directors list. Your regional directors are amazing resources. They're great to provide you details back from the board at national. They're also really good at taking anything that you've got as far as a concern or success stories or great things that are happening. They take us to the board meetings and they share them. So if you don't know them already, please get to know who your regional director is. The other thing I would say is get to know your chapters in your region. So if you don't know who else is in your region, hopefully you do by this point in time, but if you don't, that's okay. Get to know who those folks are. There is a link out on our actual website on the Council of Chapters webpage out on apwa.net that if you go click the image on there, it'll pull up who is in your region, and I believe it also pulls up who your regional director is for you as well. So you can go look at all of that information online, or feel free to ask one of us staff members. We're always willing to help you out. Another area that is really good communicating back and forth for chapter leaders is Council of Chapters meetings. We hold 2 meetings a year, one in the winter and one during the summer. And we always do a regional meeting with the delegates and alternate delegates that are there in attendance at those events. These are really great times for chapter leaders to share communication back and forth within their own region and to also share those ideas or conversations with the regional director. I do know that some regions are hosting virtual meetings. They're doing this quarterly in some of the areas. I know that Region 8 does a fantastic job of having one at least once a month, and those who can attend, and those who can't, that's okay. But these are really great platforms for your area to have communications back and forth as chapter leaders and really just connect with one another. And I can't encourage it enough. Just connect with other chapter leaders in your area. That's the best way you're going to be able to either answer any of your questions, share ideas. We are always more than happy to help you at the national level, but sometimes local in your space where you've got other chapter leaders doing the same thing as you, you might find something different, or you might find great ideas and be able to share those back and forth. The new tool that's available to you, and for some of you chapter leaders who have been around for a little while, you may remember this. We used to have a chapter leaders info now community, and we have revamped that. We're bringing this back to life. So as of today, this has been launched brand new for you guys out on our APWA Connect community. We will send a communication out through that probably either today or tomorrow just to welcome everybody. But everybody that was currently in our database as a chapter leader has been preloaded into this community. So if you do not receive a communication through this platform in the next couple of days, let us know. We can go out and check your settings and get you added into that community. But you should also have the ability to go out there and request to be added to it as well. So if you've not visited our APWA Connect community, please do so. That is found out through our national website under resources. And then I believe it says APWA Connect, and you just have to sign in there with your APWA login, and then you can go find those communities out there. This one will be located underneath chapters. and you can click on it and request to be added, or you probably already have been added to it. But this will be a great space for you all to share ideas, ask questions. We'll post out the resources for best practices. You'll also have the ability to share resources that you all have as well and have those stored in there. We're really hoping that this is a great networking tool for you as chapter leaders, so you can really use that to reach out to folks. And the other really cool part that we've added to it is a calendar. The calendar will have all of the important dates for you as a chapter leader, that if you ever have a question about when something's due, when awards are due, when financial packets are due, or anything like that, we'll have this calendar posted out there for you with those important dates. The nice part about it is you don't even have to go to the online community if you don't want to. You can send an email through chapterleaders@infonow.apwa.net and communicate just through your email tool only. If you never want to visit the website, that's okay as well. So be looking for more communications to come out to you on that area. And let me run through this. I just kind of want to show you some graphics. Out under chapters, it will be called Chapter Leaders Community, and you can add yourself to that community, or we can get you set up in there. You'll be able to see all of the postings on there online, anything that's been sent. And then the calendar view has all of the upcoming events. And we've pre-populated everything out there for 2021. And as we get the dates for 2022, we will look for you as well. Overall, we're hoping that we work together as a team here to get the communication not only within chapter leaders, but that it's something that you can receive from us here at National, and it's in a clear and concise format for you to understand and read. And then also ways for you to share communication out to your members as well. So, you know, I put this picture there because it really reminds me of fist pumping and saying, "We got this, team." So if you need anything from Jared or I or anybody else on the membership and engagement team, please feel free to reach out to us.